Welcome to the BombTV tips and tricks video. As you can see, we last left off downloading and installing BombTV. We're ready to watch, but I do have a few tips for you to optimize your viewing experience, as well as a few features that I'm going to show you about BombTV. There's a few things about your internet connection that we want to review to make sure you're having the best experience watching content on BombTV. This also serves for future reference. If there's any issues that you have with your internet connection, you can refer back to this video as a troubleshooting guide for how to fix that. So we're going to scroll up here. The first thing we want to do is go find what's called VLC Media Player. We're going to type in VLC and it should pop up in our recommended searches. So we'll click on that. It's the orange cone. It will say that I've already downloaded it. I've owned this before, but I'm going to re-download this. It is a free application. While that's downloading, we can click the home button and go on down here to BombTV. I want you to go ahead and click on, you may have named these something different, but whatever your live TV username is, we're going to use that one. And you'll see why a little bit later. But the first thing we're going to do related to VLC is go up to settings. Right on time, you can see that VLC has downloaded and is ready to launch. Player selection is all the way to the right in the second row. We're going to select that. As you can see, the built-in player is the default media player. We want to scroll all the way to the top to add player. Voila, there is our VLC. We want to add this player. We will hit the back button. We're going to go each box, select each box, scroll down and click VLC, so that now VLC is the player that we use for all content. By completing this step under one program, in this case we chose Live TV, it will utilize VLC Media Player for everything that is contained in BombTV. That's the most important thing in terms of quality of video and playback. So now that we're done with that, there are a few other features here. We're going to scroll all the way to the left. Time format is the easiest one that I'll show you. As you can see in the upper right, it says 1758. If you're not familiar with the 24-hour format or military time, that means it's 5:58 in the afternoon. I'm going to go down here and select the 12-hour format, save changes. You'll see it immediately changes to 5:58. If you prefer military time, you can just leave it, but the default is that 24-hour format, so you may want to change that. So that's pretty much everything for the settings that I would change. Of course, you can see there are other things you could change if you'd like. I would recommend not messing with any of that. The way we've got it set up currently works quite well for how I've used this application. I am going to come back to parental controls a little bit later in the video. So if you're a person that's interested in parental controls, make sure to stay tuned for that. First, I want to go back to our live TV section. There's two ways to view our channels. If I go to live TV here, the big box, as you can see, it's going to load. One quick tip, sometimes if this takes too long to load, which it looks like it might be doing right now, you'll just hit the back button, click on live TV again, you're right in there. So you can see here under live television, if I scroll down to one of my categories, this is the view I get. I'm going to get a preview of the channel in the top right, and here are all the channels. I'm going to go back. Most people prefer to go over here to this box. Now right now it says install EPG, so we're going to select that. So you can see once that's downloaded, we'll go back to network television. You can see this is a more traditional view. It shows you what's a couple hours out. You've got your preview in the top left. You can click one time on whatever channel you want to watch. Also notice the little yellow line there. It's 6:02, so that yellow line is showing me how far into the half hour of programming we are. I'm going to scroll down to this channel and click it. Now, if I wanted to add to favorites, which we're actually going to go ahead and do, I'm going to show you that in a moment. I'm going to add to favorites, but I also want to show you how I would play this. If I just click play, now I will have this on my full screen, as you can see. Alright, so now that you see once that downloaded, the option, it's that book with a lowercase I in it. That's live with EPG. I'm going to go back to that original view. Like I say, now you see that our favorites reflect that favorite that I added. Let's say if I just click on sports networks, if this happens to be your preferred view, you would come in here in terms of adding favorites. You would long press the center button on your navigation and you would add the favorite. We'll go back. So now if I go to favorites, you can see here that I've got a couple that are starred. If I want to remove one of these, I'll scroll down there, I'll long press again, remove from favorite, and we'll go back to the live with EPG view. Same thing on favorites. If I click over there, the cool thing about this is if I go down to that channel, I just click it once, I can remove from favorites. So the favorites that you can utilize in either menu, obviously there's over 3,400 channels. It's likely that there's a lot of channels that you watch on a regular basis. I would recommend setting up your favorites that way. I showed you that if we go back here, when it comes to the live with EPG tool, you'll want to refresh that likely every time you switch back and forth between applications. Another quick tip while we're here, as you can see, there's a lot of different sports categories down here. It's important to understand if you're watching sports, your best way to view it is to pick one of these categories. Your best way to view it is to pick the corresponding category to the sport you're watching. Let's say I'm watching football. I want to click on NFL or NCAA football. They're both in this category. So Saturday or Sunday football is here. You'll click on it. Two things about this. The obvious is the quality is going to be the best here because it has more bandwidth. If you don't know what bandwidth means, it doesn't really matter. All you need to know is this is the best place to view it. The other benefit to you, all of your games are going to be in one place. I know for me, I don't always know what channel my team is playing on or what channel the game is on. So this will have information. Right now, football's out of season. That's why you see that it has no info. But when things are going on, you'll have all that listed. I also want to show you pay-per-view events. As you can see, there's no information because there's no pay-per-view events at the moment. That's actually one of the biggest complaints some people will have, is that if there's a pay-per-view event coming up, they'll go to the channel and it will just be black, spinning wheel like this. The problem is, for example, if there were a pay-per-view event that came on at 7 o'clock, right now you can see it's only 6:25 where I am. Pay-per-view channels only have something on them when it's scheduled. If I go back to my football example, if I'm watching network television prior to my game coming on, I might catch the end of the evening news or something because there's always programming. The pay-per-view channels are different, so just make sure to be aware of that. Always check the BombTV Facebook page because a lot of notes about pay-per-view and upcoming sporting events for the weekend are going to be listed on there, as well as on the other side, upcoming movies and releases for series and whatnot. So it's a great tool to use, and I'm going to reference it later in this video as well. Another thing I'm going to show you while we're here is the multi-screen option. If I click on that, you can see I have these different options for multiple screens. Now we're going to get into connectivity a little bit later in terms of how fast your internet, how strong your connection is. Keep in mind, the speed of your internet is going to affect the quality of video when using the multi-screen layout. I usually just go for 2. You can kind of play around and see if it'll work with 3 or 4. Some of you may never use multi-screen at all, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview for those of you who want to use it. I find it handy if there's, say, a football Sunday where there's 2 games on, the beginning of my favorite team, but the end of a good game. I'll put them both on here. For now, I'll just use ESPN as one of the examples. You can see I hit the add button. That put the screen up there. I'm going to go back to network television. We'll put, I want to see Jeopardy on the other side. Now, there will be no sound in this video for you, but what I want you to understand is you can see the yellow box that's outlining whichever screen I'm on. Whichever box is highlighted is where you'll receive sound. If you decide, hey, there's something over here I want to go ahead and blow up on the full screen, you'll click it. It'll come up on the full screen. If you decide you want to go back to the dual screen, you'll hit the back button. Now you're back at the dual screens. We're going to hit back one more time. That's the multi-screen feature explained. We're going to go up here to settings. I'm going to go back and show you parental controls. This was the last feature that we have on BombTV. What I want you to pay close attention to here is you can see there's two boxes. One says enter your password, one says confirm your password. Once you know what they are, because they're kind of blocked by the password that we enter. So I'm going to click on that. You can see here the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0. If I hit the menu option, I get 5 through 9 as well. For my example, I'm just going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. I told you to pay attention to those boxes. As you can see, when I typed that in, it showed up in the new password. I'm going to hit the back button. Don't hit delete or you'll delete some of your password. Hit the back button. That will take me to the confirm password box. I want to type in the same password that I just had. I'll hit the back button again. I will save it. Now I'm going to jump around a little bit. What I'm going to do is show you what happens when I lock all these channels. So as you can see, I locked everything but the 24-hour kids, right? Let's say I got kids in the house and I only want them to be able to watch that. So you saw earlier what my menu looked like before we did parental controls. As I go back, I'm going to go ahead and go to the Live with EPG. Now that I've locked all of those other categories, 24/7 Kids is the only thing left available. You say, wait a minute, there's still 3,400 channels here. What you'll find is if you click on this, the only channels available are the 61 channels that are in the 24/7 Kids. The last thing I'll mention for the parental controls, if you go over here to update password, say, hey, somebody that wasn't supposed to know the password figured it out. This is where you change it. And I know what you're thinking, well, what if I forgot the password? There's another video on the BombTV channel that shows how to delete and add a user. You'll want to follow that video to reset your parental control password. It doesn't take long at all, so don't worry if you happen to forget your password. All is not lost. You'll just need access to your BombTV username and password that you should have in an email. So now that we're done with features of BombTV, we're going to hit home. Once I'm back at the main menu, I want to go over to settings. We're going to go to network. It's got the little Wi-Fi symbol. Now before I talk about the network, I do want to remind you, I mentioned that I would come back to the BombTV Facebook page. This is the first troubleshooting tip if you're having any difficulty viewing content on BombTV. You'll want to check the BombTV Facebook page. If there happens to be an outage, it should be listed there. If nothing is stated on the BombTV Facebook page, then take the steps we're going to review. You see the network that I'm connected to. I'm going to hit the play pause button. This shows me how strong my signal is. It says very good and channel 36 quality is very good. If your Firestick says good or very good in those two categories, we should be in good shape. So this is something that I would recommend doing before there's any trouble, just to make sure that everything's running well. But if you have any trouble, you can come back to it. I want to mention too, as you see, most of your Wi-Fi routers are what they call dual band, meaning two. There are two networks. One is a 5 gigahertz. If I connect to my other network and hit the play pause button, you'll see that it has a 2.4 gigahertz connection. Now this is a little technical. There's really nothing you need to know. I'm not going to give you a pop quiz. I just tell you this because if you have a device that is physically closer to your Wi-Fi router, usually going to be in your internet or in your office, if that's where your internet's coming through, you'll probably want to connect that to the 5 gigahertz. Sometimes these Fire Sticks, especially if they're further away, work better on the 2.4 gigahertz network. So if you have a Fire Stick in the bedroom that's on the opposite end of the house, or maybe in the basement, and you're not getting connected, this is the first thing I would do, is check to make sure what your signal strength and channel quality is. Whichever one is better, that's the one I would use. The speed of the internet is what we're about to check next. So I'm going to hit the home button. We're going to scroll over to find. We want to search. I'm going to click Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi speed test is what we're looking for. We're going to download this speed test. As you can see, as soon as I open it, it starts showing me my speeds. You can see in the top left, again, it tells you which network you're on, if it's 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. I've blurred it out, but it will also show you who your internet service provider is. That way you know that you're on your own internet, not the neighbors or something. Hey, if the neighbors is faster, that's between the two of you. As you can see, now that it's completed, I have download speeds of over 120 megabytes per second. So anything over 100 is great. Anything over 80 should still be in the good category. If your connectivity or speed is not what you expect it to be, the first thing I would do is reset your router. That can usually be done by unplugging it. Usually wait like 10 seconds, then you plug it back in. Everything should power back up. I pay for 150 megabytes per second. Now this is a Wi-Fi connection on a Firestick, so I don't expect to get exactly a 150, but the 125 is in the ballpark that I'm okay with that. The last thing I'll show you, we'll hit the home button again. We're going to go over to settings once more, go down to My Fire TV. This is again something that you'll want to do on a semi-regular basis. You're going to want to restart your Fire Stick. Just like you're not supposed to leave your phone on forever, you want to turn it off here and there. We want to restart the Fire Stick. Now be sure, as you see, reset is right under restart. We don't want to reset. If you reset, you're going to have to go through everything we've done today again. We just want to restart the Fire Stick. So I'm going to click restart. Also, don't worry, either one, if you happen to click the wrong option, it will give you a verification here that this is what you want to do. We're going to go ahead and restart this. You want to do this at least once a month. I'd say maybe once every 2 weeks. This just cycles your Fire Stick. It makes it download any kind of firmware that's required. Just makes things run more smoothly. It's also going to automatically quit out of apps that you might not be using, which is going to free up space for other apps that you are using to run. So we've gone through all of the troubleshooting tips for connectivity. If at this point you've checked the Facebook page, you checked your internet connection, your internet speeds, reset your modem if necessary, and restarted your Fire Stick, and you still can't view the content that you're looking for on BombTV, contact your BombTV administrator and let them know there's a problem, and they will work to find a solution to get you back watching. Thanks again for viewing. Remember to check back on this if you have connectivity issues in the future. It's time to get back to your couch and enjoy some channel surfing.